Good everyone. I hope you guys have an amazing day. So what I'm gonna do today, I'm gonna go through some of the summer 23 release um, note for Apex. I'm just focusing especially on the Apex today, but you can look at the other stuff later. I just wanted to see what changes are there in Apex and if it's going to be any useful change, right? So the first thing first, right? They spoke about accessing labels in Apex dynamically, right? So this is a kind of interesting change because you can now use system.label.get to get the custom label, and also you can specify the language, right? So what they're saying is that you can now dynamically resolve the label name at runtime, which is great. I mean, if you're dealing with, you know, I would say that yeah, that's fine. I think in my opinion, this is a handy feature, and also the user current language as well you can do. Um, would I consider it as a something extraordinary change? No, really. I mean, you can get by right without this option. So I don't think this is a very significant change, at least from my perspective. But if you think that's valuable, that's great. This one is something I would say is valuable because now you can uh, so the configure the stack depth of chained queuable jobs. So now you can set a maximum stack depth of queuable job, overriding the default limit. So which is pretty great, right? Because we had a default limit of 5 in developer and the trial. Now you can override that, which is I think is pretty cool. And now they've shown you how to do that. So this change applies to Salesforce and Classic. Now you can say the enqueue jobs by new system, which is overload. Has an optional params async object param where you can specify the maximum step depth and minimum queue delay, which is pretty cool, right? If you look at the code, so we have this. It's trying to do a Fibonacci queuable, so you can do that here. Something you say the system dot right, whatever they mentioned. This is all right. I mean, in my opinion, it's not too bad. Um, you know, I think it's better than the first change for sure. Um, is it an exciting change? Not really, right? These things really don't get excite me. It's not really exciting change, at least from my perspective, because I've done a lot of programming in different technologies. These ones, it's we are still catching up. I would say, right? We're catching up to other technologies out there. Say, I'll compare something like, let's say, if what is .NET in say 2007, that is what Apex in 2023 for me. So a lot of things still Apex don't do very well. It does the stuff here and there, you know, but that's my opinion though. You can disagree. This one though, I would like it because I don't know if you guys have used Data Wave script in MuleScript. MuleSoft. So the MuleSoft, I've used MuleSoft. So in MuleSoft, you have Data Wave where you can do data transformation, right? Using Anypoint Studio. So there you can, if for instance, just give you a simple example, if you're receiving a data from an API, and if you want to pass that information to say another system, you need to do some kind of transformation, right? And you can do that using a database. Now, this functionality is available in Apex now. So if you want, you can do data transformation within an Apex using the database. So the way I've done it is pretty simple. So here, what they've done, they've given you a input CSV, which is a string. That's the first name, last name, email, which is I presume these are the headers, and these are the values, right? Now they are expecting you to retrieve these values like first name, last name, email. So you can use the data wave to do that. So it's pretty simple. So they're using this data wave the script. um, and creating an instance of it, and then passing a value, and then you're retrieving it. It's pretty simple. Dynamically is pretty simple. I've used it so many times in MuleSoft. If you're not comfortable with MuleSoft, so this is something they use it there. So you can. It's very handy though, because in Apex, if you wanted to do a lot of um, data transformation, you can do using data now. Iterable interface with set types, right? Yeah, this is like, you can actually implement the, you know iteration, so which is just pretty cool, right? Most of the languages have this feature, but good to see that Apex is bringing such stuff to its platform, which is great. So there's nothing much here, right? It's pretty simple stuff. Um, Logging, this is something. Um, where is it? They said they're improving logging with assert class methods. That's something I would like to play around to see. I haven't had a chance to play around, but something they said they've improved it, which is great. If that's what it's about, right? So this is an interesting one, though, right? You can actually capture the required exception um, using user mode database operations in user mode data operation. So here, if you look at this code, right? So it's pretty simple: creating a new account and inserting it, right? Obviously, it will fail because there's no name field you supplied. So um, if you look at this, you're getting this exception under catch. Now they're saying assert dot is true contains required field missing. This assertion fails with API version below. So this one they're talking about, right? So which is pretty cool. So you can do the instance of um, type. So yeah, I mean, this is something I would like to try, and we'll see how it goes. So I think it's very handy from a error capturing standpoint, and I'm a big fan of capturing errors because you never know, right, when things go wrong, what will happen from a user perspective. Because obviously you don't want to give an impression to the user, hey, something is going on, but I'm not sure what the heck is going on, right? So which is not really very great from a debugging perspective, also from a user experience perspective. So these kind of errors, obviously, you may not be capturing and displaying to the user, but from a debug perspective, right, you might want to capture this error and store it in a log, so that you can observe that later. So from that perspective, I think this is pretty good. Um, this is about the code coverage of test run during package install. So they've introduced this flag. It's called is test on install equals to true. Um, so and the code coverage. So just to improve the performance, our code coverage isn't tracked. So if you put this, the code coverage won't be tracked. So that's for the package install. So that's and this is enforce our validation for Apex response. Um, so when this option is enabled, so there's a regardless of API version, REST response headers defined in Apex via this stuff have the header names validated based on RFC 7230. So that's cool, right? So from a security point, this is great. So from an Apex perspective, right? I can see they haven't done much, right? That's my personal opinion. I've been asking for functionality like generics for a while, right? It's been like many years, and they don't seem to budge on that aspect, right? Generics, it's been there in C Sharp for like almost a decade now. I've used generics so many times. Even language like Delphi bought generics right around 8 to 9 years ago. And so I don't understand. Like this, the problem with the Salesforce is our biggest problem, right? Is not directed towards developers. It's mostly directed towards the selling point is local, right? So obviously, whoever is making a decision there, they're not really interested to give that developer experience. I understand LWC is different, but because of the JavaScript, right? It's not really, you know, um, I would say that the Salesforce magic that's bringing to it. Yes, they add their own, flavor to it, but you can use the latest version of JavaScript at LWC. So it's not something to do with the Salesforce alone, right? It's a JavaScript standard. So on that point, yes, it is developer friendly, and you can do a lot of stuff. Uh, but from an Apex perspective, like I personally feel so many times it's a primitive language, right? The libraries are very limited. The options are pretty limited. You can do a lot of things, but if you wanted to write super clean code, with right patterns, it kind of make it difficult, right? There's no concept of reflection in uh, in Apex, right? Apex is compiled to the Java code, right? So obviously Java supports it, but for some reason Apex do not support it, which makes no sense to me. But maybe for whatever reason, right, the compiler team is struggling to get it, or is not in the priority list. So, all right, APIs, right? Something. This is one thing I would say they've done pretty well. So now you can have 5 levels of parent to child relationship in a sort of query, right? Which is pretty cool, right? And this is something I would say they've done really well in this area. I have no complaint about it. This is a really great feature. Async so-called is retired, so that's something they mention it. So obviously Salesforce has a habit of retiring stuff, so this is one of the stuff that retired. Some of the platform versions retirement they're doing. So yeah, just go through it. So if you've been using one of these um, APIs, then version, then make sure you upgrade it. Obviously, when you try to upgrade it, you might see some breaking changes. So it's case by case. You can't blindly just update the version to the latest one and say, hey, updated it, but I haven't tested it, so that you might end up in breaking something, right? So you need to do that testing to make sure that your code is still intact, and the functionalities uh, is behaving the way you expect it to behave, right? So so yeah, some of the stuff. So that's all I wanted to talk about in this episode. My main intention is to talk about Apex. I'm happy that they're doing changes to the platform, which is great. It's just that I wish that they, tried a bit more harder when it comes to Apex side, because I do get it. They wanted to sell it as a low code, right? But certain things can't be done using low code stuff. It needs to go where code, right? For instance, flows is still very clunky even in 2023, right? I'm afraid to say that. That's just the way it is. I've used flows extensively, but I've been so disappointed when I have to use the large data volume. I have to use so complex logic. Then I have to say, scrap that, and I have to move that entire stuff to the Apex. So yeah, certain things I wish the Salesforce could improve, right? Like for instance, at least they should show a little bit more commitment towards Apex. That's all I just have to say. Apart from that, they bring a lot of cool features, which is pretty cool, right? A lot of stuff is evolving, and I was talking to one of my mate, right? So the way the AI is evolving, like Sam, he bought ChatGPT, which is obviously Elon Musk funded it. Um, so the kind of work we do, right? For instance, the kind of work I do, at least 2023, 2024, it won't be same in 2025, 2026, right? Because I'm trying to, um, you know, change my, career path. I mean, I'm a businessman, but that being said, we do a lot of stuff on Salesforce. I'm trying to get into genetics, trying to get into uh, sentient AI. So that's the cutting edge, and that's the future, right? A lot of stuff we do will be obsolete. That's the way it is, right? You know, Salesforce may not exist maybe in 5 years' time, because who want to see your CRM, right? A lot of things, if AI can do it, why do you need a primitive way of doing things, right? Think about it. That's that being said, Salesforce is trying to introduce a lot of AI stuff. They bought the excuse me, Einstein to sorry, GPT to it, and they're expecting people to give user prompt, and it will generate a flow for you. Now think about it, right, for a second. If an AI can do that stuff, what's the need of you in the company, right? Think about it, right? So, for instance, if a company uh, has employed, say, 30 people. Now, if they think, oh, okay, I can use the GPT to do the flows for me, and I don't need too many functional consultants, so get rid of them. So that's exactly going to happen. I'm a guy known to say things in the face, pretty blunt. I don't beat around the bush. So this is what my observation will be. Right? AI will kill a lot of jobs. A lot. I mean, at least I would say by 2030, 50 million, 50 to 60 million jobs will be gone. Yes, we will create new jobs and better jobs, more cutting edge jobs, something which we haven't imagined, like quantum computing, artificial intelligence, genetics, blockchain, GMO based agriculture tech, climate change based technology firms will evolve a lot. I'm involved in climate change. So, and that's one of my foundation which does climate change. Uh, so yeah, this is the way we are heading, right? And the medical technology will be changed. A lot of humanoid-based robots will be used in surgery, where and also lots of machines will be used when you wanted to deal with, say, radioactive stuff, right? For instance, the DNA tech, right? DNA tech you can use if you wanted to test the DNA cloning, and if you wanted to see the impact of RNA and DNA, whether this RNA matches with the specific DNA. So initially they used to use the radioactive material, and then apparently realized it's too dangerous. So if but it's effective though at the same time. So now they're using fluorescent and kind of stuff, right? So they can still reuse it, provided humans are not involved in testing. So in that area, just to give an example, right? You might see a more use of humanoid-based robots getting involved. So our landscape is changing, drastically changing. So sooner we realize it, sooner we are prepared to enter into fourth industrial revolution. So yeah, so the idea came into mind because I saw the word retirement, right? So that's why I thought, okay, this thing's gonna be obsolete anyways. What are we doing? So that being said, I hope you guys have an amazing Wednesday. Adios.